Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Hong Kong film. Beginning lies and Win's ninth uncle's daughter Lu Zetai crossed a Hong Kong island, thinking it was a world of police and bandits. Unexpectedly, one day at the age of 20.1, he lay down and defeated Lin Xiaoting, the daughter of the ninth uncle, only to realize that this was actually a world of supernatural synthesis. What's even more speechless is that Lu Zhe found himself in the plot of Ghost Feet. Ding. Host hits Karin Xiaoting, reward. 10 Spirit Time Constitution, ding. Host clock in and out He Fanny. With time and time again of clocking in, Lu Zhe began his life of lying down and winning. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 19 Uncle-Daughter, rewarding 10 spirit hours. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In 1988, West Bay on Chung Chau Island, Hong Kong Island. This famous tourist attraction on Hong Kong Island, which will be famous decades later, has not yet developed. The annual passenger flow can be described as pitiful. Even during the peak tourist season, this place is still very depressed. Looking around, on a silver-white beach, there were only a dozen or so sparse tents. You know, today is Saturday. At this point, most of the tents had already been opened, and male and female tourists began to take action. There are those who play with barbecue grills, some who go swimming in the sea, and some who start preparing to sunbathe, and one of the tents in the corner was eerily quiet at this moment. In the tent, the atmosphere was extremely awkward. Did you wake up from drinking? Didn't you have a lot of courage last night, spending 300 yuan on me? Why aren't you talking now? Do you know how big the charge of assaulting a police officer is? Attacking. Assaulting a police officer. Lin Xiaoting, who had been silent as a shrunken turtle, finally lifted her head and looked at Lu Zhe with an incredulous expression on her face. How could this handsome man say such shameless things? Although she took the initiative last night, later it's clearly her being passive. How can it be considered as assaulting a police officer? And Lu Zhe lay on the mat, looking at Lin Xiaoting with a shy and speechless expression. This woman, who was full of alcohol, had a big argument last night and used 300 yuan to wrap him up, finally regained consciousness. Not to mention, Lin Xiaoting is so cute and silly. Compared to her sharp and proud tongue when she was sober, Lin Xiaoting now has a unique taste. I can't be considered as assaulting a police officer. I paid for it. Lin Xiaoting puffed her cheeks and exclaimed angrily. 300 yuan. Although I have never called myself a cowherd, I have never eaten pork and have seen pigs run. In school, there are many female classmates, including little sister. Everyone gathers together to discuss and occasionally mentions, according to Lin Xiaoting's understanding, those beauties, and Lu Feng seem to cost only 200 yuan per night. After all, this is 88 years, and the per capita salary is only 3 to 4,000 yuan. 300 yuan, Lin Xiaoting feels heartbroken just thinking about it. Although Lu Zhe is very powerful, he must be worth the money. But she's a woman. Still a woman who has just experienced this matter. Not only did he surrender himself, but he also had to compensate 300 yuan back. This, no matter how you listen, it's a loss. However, when I thought about yesterday when I was swimming, my leg cramped and I almost drowned. Thanks to the hero Lu Zhe's rescue, thinking about it this way, it doesn't seem like a loss. Is it a lot of 300 yuan? Do you know how many wealthy women and high-ranking officials' wives offered high prices to package me back then? Cut. Brag. Lin Xiaoting rolled her eyes wide and said, "You're so amazing, how could you still be sent to this place where birds don't poop?" Speaking of this, Lin Xiaoting couldn't help but feel a bit curious. I remember Lu Zhe said last night that he used to be a very talented person and only came to Changzhou Island in the past few weeks. But why are you here on Earth? Delivery. Special tasks. Or is Lu Zhe bragging? Xiaoting. Xiaoting. Xiaoting, are you still sleeping? Before Lu Zhe could answer, the voices of several women rang out outside the tent. Lin Xiaoting's face changed slightly and she immediately responded. I'm awake, I'll come out now. After speaking, Lin Xiaoting gave a glance to Lu Zhe, then pulled open the door curtain and walked out with great difficulty. There's no way, last night was too tragic. The evidence is that the blankets in the tent have changed from orange to deep red. Xiaoting, what's wrong with you? Why is your face so white? Yeah, how did you walk with twists and turns? Did you have a leg cramp yesterday and still haven't recovered? It's okay, maybe it's the wrong sleeping posture. Outside the tent, Lin Xiaoting kept explaining. At the same time, he also covered the door curtain with his body to prevent sisters from seeing Lu Zhe in the tent. Hee. I think someone had a spring dream, that's why they couldn't sleep well. Isn't that right? Yesterday, I was saved by a hero. Officer Lu is so handsome and humorous, someone is tempted. Unfortunately, we have to go back this afternoon and someone won't be able to confess their feelings in time. You hate it. In the tent, listening to the laughter getting farther and farther away, Lu Zhe smiled and shook his head. And just as he was about to go out, suddenly, a mechanical sound rang out in his mind. Ding host defeats Karin Xiaoting, reward. 10 Spirit Age Constitution, for men and women born during the 10 Spirit Age, drooling can subdue demons and subdue demons. The sudden sound caught Lu Zhe off guard. 10 Lingxia. Lin Xiaoting. Is it? Whispering in his mouth, Lu Zhe's eyes flickered with a bright light, as if he remembered something. More precisely, Lu Zhe remembered a movie from a previous life. Monster City. I don't know, it's been 21 years since the tire was worn. Can you tell me this is a supernatural world? Are you playing with me like this? Lu Zhe's eyes twitched, and at this moment, he only wanted to burst into foul language. 21 years. Survived safely in the supernatural world for 21 years. Whenever a fierce ghost zombie or something comes out in the middle, Lu Zhe has no doubt that he will throw himself into the street. Upon this thought, Lu Zhe could only lament his luck. At the same time, I couldn't help but laugh and cry. I estimate myself to be the most confused traveler. It has been 21 years since the mother and fetus traveled together, before we finally figured out what kind of world we are in. I thought this world had Hongxing and Liansheng, and it should be a world of police and bandits. But to my surprise, it was still a world of supernatural synthesis. That's right, it's a world of supernatural synthesis. Lu Zhe walked out of the tent and looked towards the nearby Xiwan police station, then turned his head to look at the endless sea. In his eyes, there was a solemn expression. I didn't expect it at first, but now, Chengqiao Island West Bay, Mengue Bay, Luyi. Isn't this just ghost feet? This movie is not as famous as Monster City, and several main characters have not appeared, so Lu Zhe has been to Chengqiao Island for a few weeks and has not yet reacted. Claim. Since he knew the danger of this world, Lu Zhe did not hesitate at all. The most important thing now is the means to save lives. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Zhe suddenly felt a warm sensation all over his body. A mysterious feeling rises in my heart. At this moment, Lu Zhe felt as if his body had undergone some kind of change, but it also seemed like an illusion. A's. At this moment, an elderly male police officer shouted at the entrance of the West Bay police station. It's Mr. Lu. Behind him, there was a young police officer with a dark skin and a somewhat dull appearance. Upon seeing the appearance of the police officer, Lu Zhe was taken aback for a moment, then responded and walked over. Mr. Lu, what's going on? What can I do? It's just someone from above. Lu Yi said, you forgot, we need to transfer an inspector, a captain, and a police officer in the next 2 days. Mummy. This is the new police officer. Oh, I really forgot. Lu Zhe smiled and said. However, there was no hint of embarrassment on his face. Since coming to Chengqiao Island, he has completely let himself go, treating this assignment as a vacation. Either sunbathing or swimming every day. Lu Yi said these things, he really didn't take any of them to heart. Thinking about it this way, it seems that I am really lucky. Swimming every day, but surprisingly not being pulled down by the water ghost. For Lu Zhe's sincerity, Lu Yi really has nothing to say. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Call me Inspector, Shangqing Dadong Scripture. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 2 hours later, the police officer's dormitory. When Lu Zhe left, Lin Xiaoting was already doubting life. Looking at Lu Zhe's back, her eyes were full of confusion and fear. Is this really still human? How do you feel more terrifying than last night? Outside the dormitory, Lu Zhe walked with a relaxed expression, completely free from the fatigue after the war. He doesn't know why, but he doesn't feel tired and feels like he can play 5 more games. Could it be that this 10 spirits constitution not only harms supernatural beings, but also has an increasing effect on women? If that's the case, that would be a pleasant surprise. Ding host hits Karin Xiaoting, reward. Shangqing Dadong manual, is this okay too? Lu Zhe paused in his footsteps, almost unable to resist going back to his room to fight on the battlefield. I thought this check that IN could only receive 1 reward. Unexpectedly, there are rewards every time. It's really great. Unfortunately, Lin Xiaoting will be leaving this afternoon, so it's not advisable to make too much fuss. Shangqing Dadong Zheng. Maoshan sex cultivation method. After receiving the reward, Lu Zhe couldn't help but gradually become obsessed as he read the sudden appearance of the technique in his mind. Perhaps due to the system infusion, Lu Zhe actually understood all the acupoints and meridians described inside. Reading is effortless. And somewhere in his body, a heat stream that existed for an unknown time was slowly running. As Lu Zhe unconsciously practiced his martial arts, this heat flow also flowed throughout his body along the meridians, running throughout the heavens. I don't know how long it has been, it could have been 10 minutes or half an hour. Lu Zhe, who had been standing all along, finally opened his eyes. Ha! Slightly opening my mouth, a burst of white smoke spewed out. If there were cultivators from the Maoshan sect here, they would probably be shocked and stunned upon seeing this scene. This is clearly the scene created by the breakthrough of the first layer of the Shangqing Great Cave Scripture. You should know that ordinary people who want to cultivate the first layer of the Shangqing Great Cave Manual have spent several years. Even if it's a genius, that year or 2 is still necessary. After all, you need to first sense spiritual energy, and then slowly accumulate spiritual power. Only after successful accumulation can we break through the first layer in one fell swoop. And how long did Lu Zhe use it? Half an hour. This is no longer a genius, it can be completely said to be a demon. Name. Lu Zhe, Constitution. 10 Spirit Hours Cultivation. Human Teacher, Initial, Technique. Shangqing Dadong Zhenjing, Level 1, Spell. None. I didn't expect that there would be such a wonderful combination of men and women during the 10 spirits period. The spiritual power generated by the dual cultivation happened to help me break through, saving me the process of accumulating spiritual power. Lu Zhe, who had come to his senses, couldn't help but feel a little excited as he looked at the attribute interface that suddenly appeared in front of him. This is completely an unexpected joy. The sudden appearance of heat just now is actually the spiritual power hidden deep in the elixir field. And the reason why Lu Zhe has spiritual power is because of his previous combination with Lin Xiaoting. The combination of men and women during the 10 spirits is truly wonderful. Surprisingly, there is no need for dual cultivation techniques, which naturally produces the effect of dual cultivation. It's just that Lu Zhe didn't practice before, so he couldn't sense this spiritual power. And now, after breaking through the first layer of the Shangqing Dadong manual, there is still a lot of spiritual power left in the Dantian. According to Lu Zhe's estimation, it should be enough to cultivate to the 3rd level. At that time, it will be the later stage of human teacher's realm. But this is far from the strength shown in the movie. In the later stage of the human teacher's realm, it is obviously impossible to overturn the yin-yang corpses. And in the movie, during the 10 spirits, men and women can still fit together. Is there anything else missing? Lu Zhe pondered to himself, planning to find his father-in-law to explore the situation later. Lin Zheng must know the key to this. Didi. At this moment, the BB machine on Lu Zhe's waist suddenly rang. When picked up, it showed that it was a call from the West Bay police station. It is obvious that something is wrong with Lord Lu. There is also a phone in the police dormitory, but Lu Zhe is too lazy to go back to the dormitory and make a call. Anyway, it's not far from the West Bay police station, so Lu Zhe ran over directly. With the blessing of spiritual power, Lu Zhe felt like he was even running much faster. Going on like this, I'm afraid winning a gold medal at the Olympics is just an understatement. When Lu Zhe arrived, the beach in front of the police station was already crowded with people. A small portion are tourists, and the majority are villagers. At this moment, the villagers' faces were full of worries and sighs kept coming. As soon as Lu Zhe squeezed through the crowd, he saw a man wearing glasses constantly greeting Wang Xiaoming's mother. The degree of venomous tongue is unparalleled before, and there is no one who has come after it. Looking at Wang Xiaoming's black face, it is obvious that he has a desire to be a swordsman. However, what everyone was watching was obviously not the 3 of Lu Yi, but a female corpse lying in front of them. I don't know how long this female corpse has been dead, but judging from the swelling all over her body, it is obvious that she has been in the sea for a long time. Lu Zhe walked over and saw that it was already clear to his mind. This woman was definitely killed by a water ghost. Because there are 5 claw marks on the right heel of the woman, and there is a faint ghost aura emanating. Hey! What are you doing? Who let you get close to the female corpse? The man with glasses saw Lu Zhe approaching the female corpse and immediately shifted his anger from Wang Xiaoming to Lu Zhe. You're destroying the crime scene, be careful. I'll make you. I advise you to keep your mouth clean. Before the glasses man could finish speaking, Lu Zhe coldly said. If you dare to finish speaking, I guarantee you even have difficulty walking. Lu Zhe doesn't have a good impression of this guy who owes a lot. You. Upon hearing Lu Zhe's words, the man with glasses immediately turned black. Just as he approached to teach Lu Zhe a lesson, Lord Lu quickly stopped him. Inspector Chen. No, Chen sir, don't be impulsive. This is Officer Lu from our police station. Officer Lu. So what? Upon hearing these words, Chen sir suddenly became even more arrogant. I am now the director of the West Bay police station. Can't I teach him? No, this. How come, as an inspector, as the director, I can't teach a police officer a lesson? Police. Inspector. Inspector. Chen sir, who was originally very proud, looked at a document held up in front of him and immediately stuttered when speaking. Looking at the documents and then at the owner, Chen sir's eyes were full of disbelief. What the hell? This young and unreasonable man is actually also an inspector. At this age either the relationship is strong, or the strength is strong. If the relationship is strong, it is obvious that they will not be sent to the border like him. That is to say, this young inspector is very impressive. With this thought in mind, Chen Sir suddenly felt a little guilty as he looked at Lu Zhe's indifferent gaze, and quickly took a step back. At the same time, I have some regrets in my heart. I knew I shouldn't have been so arrogant. Before coming, I should have understood the situation here. I thought it was just a few salted fish, but to my surprise, there was still a piranha hidden inside. This is troublesome. Inspector. Inspector. At this moment, Wang Xiaoming was also blinded. I thought it was a senior brother of similar level, but I didn't expect it to be an inspector. This is too young, isn't it? Looking at Lu Zhe's handsome face, I think about myself again. I can't match my appearance, my age, and even my level now. For a while, Wang Xiaoming is feeling a bit depressed. People compare to each other, how infuriating. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Coroner, Post-Human Teacher. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wang Xiaoming. Wang Xiaoming. Old Lu. Old Lu. At dusk, at the entrance of the police dormitory. Inspector Chen walked with a gloomy face and started shouting before entering the door. Such a big commotion, Lu Yi, who was tinkering with cinnabar bullets in the room, couldn't have missed hearing it. Glancing at the clock hanging on the wall, Mr. Lu immediately screamed inwardly. Without daring to delay any longer, he quickly smiled and opened the door and walked out. He. Chen Sir, are you looking for me? Who can I find if I don't find you? As soon as he saw Mr. Lu, Inspector Chen's anger didn't beat up and he couldn't breathe well. And there's Wang Xiaoming. Why was I the only one in the police station in an afternoon? The villagers came to me for anything. Am I the chief or an ordinary police officer? Thinking of being busy with trivial matters this afternoon, and even having to worry about losing the dog in the end, Inspector Chen's lungs were about to explode with anger. Wang Xiaoming has taken the body to the morgue and should be back soon. Lu Yi quickly smiled and said, Chen Sir, calm down, calm down. Speaking, he went to fetch Coke for Inspector Chen. It's all my fault, I fell asleep in the room. I'm getting old, I'm really confused. Mr. Lu had no intention of telling Inspector Chen about the water ghost. Because he knew that even if he said it, Inspector Chen would not believe it. Since that's the case, it's better not to mention that the provincial inspector was scolded by Chen in the end. Inspector Chen's mouth really scared Mr. Lu a bit. After taking a sip of the cola, Inspector Chen's anger also dissipated a bit. To Mr. Lu, he was quite polite. After all, he is not a fool either. Mr. Lu stayed on Changzhou Island for decades and was very popular, making him a local leader. He is a newcomer to Qianlong, there is no need to offend Lord Lu. As for troubling Wang Xiaoming in the morning, one reason is that he was sent to Changzhou Island and felt unhappy, wanting to find someone to vent his frustrations. Secondly, Wang Xiaoming is not as smooth as Lu Yi, and he dares to argue with his superior, making them embarrassed. Since that's the case, isn't Wang Xiaoming the best venting partner? What about Lu Zhe? Why can't you see anyone else? Sitting on the sofa, Inspector Chen said in confusion. Speaking of Lu Zhe, Inspector Chen's attitude has significantly improved. There's no way, this is the same level. Although he is the police chief and the superior of Lu Zhe. But Lu Zhe's ability to become an inspector at such a young age is clearly a potential stock. Even if he is now assigned to the border, he may one day be transferred back and promoted step by step. Inspector Chen dare not offend such a hidden dragon. He still wants to go back, but he doesn't want to spend his whole life on this bird-proof Changzhou Island. If you offend Lu Zhe, if Lu Zhe rises in the future, use a trap for him. Who will he cry with then? Sir Lu. Upon hearing this, Lord Lu was about to answer. At this moment, there was suddenly movement outside the door. Turning his head, he saw Wang Xiaoming returning with a man dressed strangely. Mr. Lu. Chen Sir. Although he is unhappy with Chen Sir, Wang Xiaoming still has the attitude he should have. Even delivering a corpse is so late. At a young age, I know how to procrastinate and be lazy. No wonder I came to Changzhou Island as soon as I graduated from the police academy. As soon as he saw Wang Xiaoming, the anger in Inspector Chen's heart immediately rose again, and he directly activated the mocking mode. However, Wang Xiaoming won't get used to him. Really? I thought it was because of my excellence that I came to Changzhou Island. I don't know, Chen Sir is so outstanding, how could he come to Changzhou Island? Kaka in the living room, a piercing sound rang out. Lu Yi looked at the deformed cola can in Chen Sir's hand, his eyes filled with helplessness. Wang Xiaoming is good for everything else, but not smooth enough. Always contradicting superiors like this is destined to not bring good luck. In order to ease the awkward atmosphere, Mr. Lu immediately looked at the man wearing a brown shirt and with white hair all over his head. Old dissector, why do you have time as a coroner to come here? What kind of old cut? You said you called me pussy in English. As soon as the name was given, everyone present looked at the man with a strange expression. Pussy, surname Jiao. This English name is really special. Mr. Lu's mouth twitched as he looked at his proud old friend, completely convinced. Pussy, an experienced coroner. Every year, several people drown on Changzhou Island, and several times it was brought over by Lord Lu himself. I've been going back and forth, and I've become familiar with Pussy. The real reason why the two became good friends is that Pussy also believes in ghosts in the world. And Pussy has always believed that the vast majority of the people who drowned on Changzhou Island were killed by water ghosts. As for why I'm here. Of course I'm catching ghosts. Let me tell you, I brought the latest invention that can track and locate based on magnetic fields. Pussy suddenly remembered her purpose and excitedly patted the box behind her, about to start introducing herself. But he didn't notice the speechless expression of Lord Lu, as well as the increasingly dark face of Inspector Chen. At this moment, in the room, a burst of BB machine sound sounded, and Lu Zhe opened his eyes. Looking at the dim sky outside the window, I couldn't help but feel that cultivation has no time. Thinking of the cultivation novels I read in my previous life, the protagonist often stays in seclusion for more than a decade, or even hundreds of years. At that time, I thought it was a bit exaggerated. Now that I have practiced on my own, I realize that it is not an exaggeration at all. Unconsciously, an afternoon passed. In the future, if one's cultivation level is high, they may not realize that 1 or 2 months have passed without just practicing. Name: Lu Zhe, Constitution. 10 Spirit Hours Cultivation. Human Teacher, later, Technique. Shangqing Dadong Zheng, Level 3, Spell. None. Looking at the attribute interface in front of him, Lu Zhe was very satisfied. As expected, after the spiritual power in the Dantian was fully refined, the Shangqing Great Cave Scripture reached its 3rd level of cultivation. With a complete cultivation, he also broke through to the later stage of being a human teacher. This kind of cultivation progress is simply terrifying. The combination of men and women during the 10 spirits period is truly a major obstacle in the cultivation world. However, most of the spiritual power here comes from Lu Zhe and Lin Xiaoting for the first time. In the second battle afterwards, the spiritual power did not increase so much. I glanced at the BB machine and found that it was a phone reminder from Lin Xiaoting. No need to think, it should be the little girl who has arrived home. Stretching lazily, Lu Zhe stood up and prepared to leave the room. As soon as I opened the door, I saw several people standing in the living room, and the atmosphere was a bit strange. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Ghost feet, water ghost attacks. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A big official position is good. Looking at Inspector Chen, who had a brilliant expression but dared not speak anymore, Lu Zhe felt very comfortable. Previously, in the G4 group, the level of members was not low and I still couldn't feel it. Now that I'm outside, I can finally experience the benefits of a higher level. At the very least, there's no need to hold back like Lu Yi and Wang Xiaoming. It feels pretty good. Calculating the time, it seems that Lao Wang's promised promotion and salary increase should also come soon. When the time comes. Due to the appearance of Lu Zhe, Chen Sir kept a low profile a lot. Perhaps because he felt embarrassed, he just pretended to be hungry and then left to eat. When leaving, the crowd was also evacuated. Regarding this, the three of Lu Zhe were also too lazy to bother with him. He's not here, the three of them can still feel more at ease. Ace, what do you think? Lu Yi saw Lu Zhe squatting down next to the body again, so he leaned over and said. Chen Sir said that his mouth was full of mud and sand, which indicates that the woman accidentally drowned, not thrown into the sea after death. Yeah. Wang Xiaoming nodded repeatedly. Although he is very unhappy with Chen Sir, he still agrees with his viewpoint. Under normal circumstances, this is indeed the case. Lu Zhe nodded. Under normal circumstances. Upon hearing these words, Lord Lu was immediately taken aback. As an elderly person on Chengqiao Island, he clearly knows the difference between normal and abnormal situations. After all, for decades, several people have drowned every year on Changzhou Island. What exactly is the reason? Mr. Lu also has a plan in his heart. But he was surprised. Because Lu Zhe has just arrived and no one has drowned during this period. Why does Lu Zhe seem to know something? Teacher. Lu Sir, what did you mean by what you just said? Is there any abnormal situation? Beside him, Wang Xiaoming curiously said. Is it abnormal? Lu Zhe smiled slightly and then reached out to Lord Lu. Why? Borrow your amulet for use. Lu Zhe is not polite at all. Upon hearing this, although Mr. Lu was puzzled, he still took off the amulet from his chest. This talisman is regarded by Lord Lu as a precious treasure and is highly cherished. There are 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. On the outside, it is also wrapped in waterproof plastic bags. Wang Xiaoming stared blankly until at the end, a piece of yellow talisman paper with something written on it was taken out, and he finally realized it. But before he could say anything, he saw Lu Zhe holding a yellow talisman paper and slowly approaching the right heel of the female corpse. At this moment, a magical scene appeared. At the moment when the yellow talisman paper touched the claw mark, the font on the yellow talisman suddenly flashed red. Then, pungent smoke emanated from the claw marks and a lot of seawater seeped out. The next second, Lu Zhe directly collected the yellow talisman paper. And the right heel of the female corpse slowly returned to its original state, as if nothing had happened. This. How could it be? What happened to that just now? Wang Xiaoming was stunned and kept asking questions. Silly kid, I haven't realized yet. This is clearly a water ghost killing. Lu Yi took the yellow talisman back from Lu Zhe's hand, carefully rewrapped it, and explained to Wang Xiaoming at the same time. When you came this morning, didn't you ask me why Xiwan is also called Mengui Bei? Didn't you see it now? Mr. Lu's words completely stunned Wang Xiaoming. In the world, surprisingly, there is really a ghost. This is simply shattering his worldview. Hee. A's, my talisman. At this moment, Lu Yi looked at Lu Zhe and smiled. Don't worry, the power of this talisman is not weak. It just wears away some ghost energy and won't ruin it. Lu Zhe exclaimed, Lord Lu, I don't know where your talisman comes from. Which expert did it come from? Haha. This is what my younger brother gave me, it's been 10 years. According to him, it was painted by his sworn brother Tornado. Lu Yi didn't hide anything. A tornado. Lu Zhe was a bit puzzled and couldn't remember which expert he was. This tornado is his nickname and also a member of our police community. We were partners at the time, ranking fourth among several sworn brothers, so we are also called Feng Lao Si. Now we are police officers at Dongpingshao police station. Lu Yi added, I don't know why, he's so skilled, he's actually doing so poorly. Speaking of this, Lord Lu couldn't help but sigh. Dongpingshao, that's the real frontier. Changzhou Island can also be said to be a tourist attraction, with some tourists every day. Finally, it's a bit popular. And in Dongpingshao, not to mention tourists, there are not many local residents. Except for a few older ones who stayed behind, all the younger ones left. In another decade or so, when the older ones pass away, it is estimated that Dongpingshao will truly become an uninhabited deserted island. However, Lu Yi did not notice that as he recounted, Lu Zhe's expression became somewhat subtle. Mr. Lu's younger brother, isn't he in a wheelchair? But that sheriff seems to be named Ma. And my younger brother is a police officer, how could he possibly? I always need to carry it. And just as Lu Zhe was lost in thought, suddenly, a small wave quietly hit the distant sea surface. Although the three of them reacted promptly and hid quickly, the female corpse on the ground was submerged in the seawater with both feet. The next second, Wang Xiaoming exclaimed in surprise. Female corpse. I saw the female corpse on the ground sliding rapidly towards the sea. And her feet soaking in the seawater seemed to be caught by something. It was this tremendous force that dragged her into the sea. Hurry up and grab the body. As Wang Xiaoming spoke, he wanted to pounce and catch the female corpse. But Lu Ye's reaction is faster. Don't go. It's a water ghost. Lu Yi shouted loudly and stopped Wang Xiaoming. Although I haven't seen any water ghosts, this wave is clearly not right. A small wave that has just crossed the instep, how could it possibly sweep away a corpse, and the speed is so fast? Make it clear that there is a problem in the seawater. Upon hearing Lu Ye's words, Wang Xiaoming also realized and froze in place, his eyes filled with suspicion. But they stopped, not Lu Zhe. I saw Lu Zhe take a step and quickly reach the head of the female corpse. Immediately, Lu Zhe squatted down and grabbed the hand of the female corpse. Despite being blessed with spiritual power, Lu Zhe still felt a tremendous force coming and almost pulled him into the sea. Sure enough, the water ghost has a home advantage in the sea. Fortunately, it is now daylight and the sun is shining brightly, and the strength of the water ghost has weakened significantly. Thinking so in his heart, Lu Zhe kept moving. The next second, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of saliva and accurately hit the seawater at the heel of the female corpse. Shirshi. A strange scene appeared. Suddenly, a golden glow flickered in the small patch of seawater. Then, the immense power on the female corpse disappeared instantly, and the small wave quickly receded. Vaguely, it seemed that a black shadow could still be seen passing through the seawater. Almost at the same time, a roar suddenly sounded in the ears of Lu Zhe and his companions. Anger, pain, fear. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Three lights, not human. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alung. Late at night, on the pitch-black deserted streets. The mournful and eerie cries, accompanied by gusts of yin wind, hit the hearts of Wang Xiaoming and others, making them shiver with fear. Lu. Lord Lu. Wang Xiaoming trembled as he held a flashlight, with a smile on his face that was even uglier than crying. You. Did you hear me? No. I didn't hear anything. Mr. Lu had a serious expression and said seriously. That way, it seemed as if there was really no movement at all. But if you look closely at his eyes, you will find that his pupils are tightening for a moment. A feeling called fear fills it. Gulu. I seem to hear that. Don't talk. Before Wang Xiaoming could finish speaking, Lu Yi shouted in a low voice, don't talk about people during the day, don't talk about them at night. What? Do you know? Oh. Wang Xiaoming nodded forcefully. Afterwards, Inspector Chen, who followed slowly, sneered. Pretend to be a ghost. You think finding a woman to pretend to be a ghost can scare me? Crazy. As he spoke, Inspector Chen pushed Wang Xiaoming and the two of them away and walked over to the old dissector who was looking at the instrument. Hey! Where is the water ghost? Where is it? This. It shows that it is near the base, that is, near us. Lao Kuai said, looking up around, but his eyebrows couldn't help but furrow. This is a very old and narrow alley. According to the standard scope, if the water ghost is not in the alley, it must be in these courtyards near the alley. Coincidentally, there are 4 households here, 2 of whom are adjacent. Nearby. There are people around us. It's late at night, you want to wake up the villagers. Inspector Chen has a bad airway. In his opinion, this was already a farce. If we wake up the villagers and let them know the causes and consequences, then he, as the director, will inevitably be complained about. He doesn't want to take the blame anymore. So why? Alung. Just as Lu Yi was about to ask what to do, suddenly, the woman's cry rang out again. At this moment, Lu Zhe, who had been silent all along, suddenly had a sparkling light in his eyes. Immediately, amidst the surprised gazes of several people, he walked straight to the front door of the house. Dong dong dong, the sound of knocking on the door also brought a few people to their senses, and they quickly walked to Lu Zhe's side. Aze, are you sure this is here? This is Widow Lu's house. Her man just died of illness half a month ago. Looking at the house number, Mr. Lu couldn't help but turn his head and look around, his eyes full of nervousness and guilt. There is a lot of trouble in front of the widow's door. A few big men knocked on the widow's door in the middle of the night, and the widow's man had just died. If this were to spread in the countryside, this is deadly. Lu Zhe nodded and was about to speak. At this moment, the door in front of me slowly opened. The next second, a graceful and charming middle-aged woman appeared in front of several people. It's Widow Lu. How many people are there, sir? It's late at night. What's up? Widow Lu glanced at the crowd and spoke weakly. The handsome little face, coupled with a pitiful appearance, made the hearts of the few people feel soft as they looked straight at it. Even Inspector Chen, who claimed to have the toughest heart, instantly became gentle with his fingers. Ah. It's okay, it's okay. Inspector Chen immediately stepped forward and sneered, we heard crying while patrolling, so we came to take a look. After speaking, Inspector Chen turned his head and glared at the old dissectors. Regarding this, Mr. Lu and the others were speechless. It's not like they came knocking on the door. If you have the ability, you can stare at Lu Zhe. Bully the soft and fear the hard. Sir. Ah. Inspector Chen turned his head to look at Widow Lu. That crying. Because of me. My Lang passed away, and I miss him in my heart, so. Widow Lu spoke, her eyes turning slightly red again. It's my fault for bothering a few sirs. No, 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 it's probably because we're not good enough to disturb you in the middle of the night. Inspector Chen quickly comforted and then turned his head to glare at Wang Xiaoming. Although it was Widow Lu crying, this guy actually said it was a female ghost crying. What ears? Sir. Ah. Widow Lu called out again, and Inspector Chen quickly responded, then turned his head again. However, at this moment, Lu Zhe, who had been staring at Widow Lu, was the first to secure Inspector Chen's head. "Lu Zhe, what are you doing?" Inspector Chen did not expect that Lu Zhe would suddenly take action, and it was still such an inexplicable move, which immediately puzzled him. "Chen sir, why don't you turn your head? Your true flame of samadhi is almost extinguished." Lu Zhe sneered and said, "You are already in bad luck, and your luck is not high. If you don't have samadhi true fire by your side, even if you are a police officer, you will definitely be possessed by ghosts." Samadhi true fire. Upon hearing this, everyone looked puzzled. What the hell? Journey to the West. Samadhi's true fire. At this moment, Lord Lu suddenly exclaimed in surprise, as if he had thought of something. Immediately, he stared closely at Widow Lu, his eyes full of suspicion. Just now, due to his nervousness, he was afraid of being gossiped about, so he never dared to look directly at Widow Lu. Now upon closer inspection, I do feel that there is something wrong. But what's wrong, he can't say for a moment. Lu Yi, what kind of samadhi is really hot? Red boy. Wang Xiaoming asked curiously. It is said that when walking at night, each person will have 3 lamps on their body, 1 on their head and the other 2 on their shoulders, interlocking in a triangular shape, constantly giving birth, meaning, samadhi true fire. Lu Yi quickly explained, when I was a child, the old man always said that if someone shouted in the middle of the night, don't agree or turn back. It's because of this that the 3 lights will go out one by one. Because the person calling you. Maybe it's not a person. Not a human. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was taken aback. Recalling Lu Zhe's words just now, as well as the causes and consequences, is it possible that, not yet visible? At this moment, Lu Zhe suddenly took action. Everyone saw a golden light flash past and hit Widow Lu's forehead. The next second, Widow Lu let out a scream and flew backwards. And an even more shocking scene emerged. Widow Lu, who only saw people in the air, suddenly flashed with blue light on her body. Suddenly, a figure emerged from her and fell heavily to the ground. Or rather, it's a ghostly figure. Ghost. Female ghost. Inspector Chen exclaimed in surprise, his eyes almost popping out. No matter how atheistic he is, seeing the ugly female ghost not far away with a pale face and disheveled hair, he cannot help but believe it. I want your lives. P.S. Thank you very much, 2333. Book friend, the big monthly pass. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 11. Female Police Officer by Hong, please provide more guidance. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Pop 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 at the door, a burst of applause suddenly rang out, startling Mr. Lu and the others. When they saw a strange beauty, the few of them had no intention of appreciating it, only nervousness. What they said just now cannot be leaked. Otherwise, those villagers won't come back yet to continue their rebellion. And this time, no one can suppress it. Subconsciously, everyone looked at Lu Zhe, thinking of letting this wise star come and make a decision. And Lu Zhe's calm expression also slowly eased the hearts of the few people who were hanging. I don't know when, but Lu Zhe has become the backbone of everyone. As long as Lu Zhe remains calm, they won't panic either. Aren't you afraid that I'll tell those villagers what I just heard? The beautiful woman looked at Lu Zhe with some surprise. She tried hard to find a hint of nervousness on Lu Zhe, but ended up with nothing. This made her even more curious. You know, raising flags at will and fabricating autopsy reports have caused unnecessary property damage to villagers and the region. Any one of these is enough to kick Lu Zhe out of the police force. You don't know, Officer Bai Hong. Lu Zhe smiled and said. Officer. Upon hearing this, Inspector Chen, who had just been somewhat worried, immediately froze. Wait. still surnamed Bai. At this moment, everyone immediately remembered that there was another captain at the West Bay police station who had not arrived, as if his surname was Bai. Is it the one in front of you? After causing trouble for a while, it turned out to be my own person. A false alarm. Do you know me? The beautiful police officer Bai Hong was very surprised. Looking at Lu Zhe's face, she tried hard to recall, but couldn't remember where she had seen Lu Zhe. This is not scientific. Such a handsome man, even if he has only seen him once, he cannot forget it. The most important thing is that she really feels that the other person has some familiarity. But what is familiar is not the face, but the temperament. Kowloon headquarters, we had a chance encounter once. Lu Zhe said, covering the lower half of his face with his hand, only revealing above the bridge of his nose. Are you? At this moment, Bai Hong suddenly felt some impression. Knight Zhe from G4 Group. Why are you? Oh my goodness. This is actually Knight Zhe. All the high-ranking female family members who have been protected by the G4 team recognize him as the most handsome G4 police officer and the knight in the hearts of all female family members. Handsome appearance, powerful strength, gentlemanly demeanor, he is simply the legendary perfect knight. Bai Hong works at the headquarters in Kowloon and has met Lu Zhe once. At that time, Lu Zhe had a slight cold, so he wore a mask. Moreover, the two only met once and have not had much conversation. Bai Hong couldn't believe that Lu Zhe would actually remember herself. For a moment, there was a strange feeling in my heart. Knight Zhe, do you have feelings for me? Whatever, just like you. Lu Zhe said helplessly, send to the border. Bai Hong couldn't help but remain silent. However, the frustration in my heart inexplicably decreased. Even the elites from the G4 group have come here, so it seems that it's not unacceptable to come here myself. And, in the future, I can also partner with Knight Zhe. Upon this thought, Bai Hong suddenly felt comfortable. Sometimes, people just need to learn to enlighten themselves. Seeing Bai Hong's face ease, Lu Zhe couldn't help but know what Bai Hong was thinking in her heart. Suddenly, my heart was speechless. Good guy, surprisingly, I still have this kind of effect. Won't you introduce us to it? Lu Yi came to Lu Zhe's side, patted his arm, and began to tease him with a smirk. While feeling relaxed in my heart, I was also deeply impressed by Lu Zhe. This guy, why is his peach blossom luck so good? There are beautiful women around everywhere. Just as Lin Xiaoting left, another Bai Hong came. The most important thing is that both women are beautiful. And this one in front of me still looks like a mixed-race beauty, her figure is really amazing. Not to mention anything else, just those long legs, what an enviable guy. Hello everyone, my name is Bai Hong and I am the new captain. Without waiting for Lu Zhe's introduction, Bai Hong confidently introduced herself. She is just so straightforward. It was precisely because of this personality that she offended people and was sent to Changzhou Island. At this moment, the phone behind Inspector Chen suddenly rang. Inspector Chen picked up the phone and immediately started talking to the other party. Officer Bai. Yes, just arrived. Well, it's very beautiful. Do you take things seriously? Do you take people seriously? Never joking. Looking down on men. Karate black belt. Shoulder slapping, waist hugging, and dying. Yes. I understand. Inspector Chen chatted with the other party a few more words before hanging up the phone. At this moment, the police station is quiet inside and outside. The eyes of everyone looking at Bai Hong were full of disbelief and doubt. Can such a beautiful woman really be so fierce? Is it my superior from Kowloon headquarters calling? Bai Hong asked calmly. However, judging from her expression, it was obvious that Inspector Chen did not need to answer the question. She had already confirmed. Welcome Officer Bai to join our West Bay police station. Mr. Lu quickly came out to smooth the situation. And Inspector Chen and Wang Xiaoming took a step forward and wanted to shake hands with Bai Hong. However, what greeted them was Bai Hong's disregard. What made them even more heartbroken was that the next second, Bai Hong came to Lu Zhe and took the initiative to reach out. Please provide more guidance in the future. Looking at the jade hand in front of her, as well as Bai Hong's provocative and hopeful gaze, Lu Zhe smiled and grabbed Bai Hong's hand, responding. Teach each other. This dazzling scene shattered the hearts of Inspector Chen and others. Finally, a beautiful police officer arrived. Why did you just take a liking to Lu Zhe, a married man? Do you agree to look down on men? They are all scams. I should look down on men who are not handsome. What a beast, Lu Zhe. By the way, I just came here and I'm not familiar with the situation yet. Bai Hong said, that was just. Oh, here's the thing. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. The relationship between Uncle Feng and Lin Zheng. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Wang Xiaoming, stop staring and immediately carry the female corpse to the police station. Mr. Lu, please contact the Dongguan police station immediately and ask them to send a ship to deliver the female corpse to the Taiping Hall on Hong Kong Island. Although it has been confirmed that the female corpse was killed by a water ghost, the surface report cannot be submitted like this. Let the forensic team handle it. The two of Lu Yi, who were originally still in a daze, were startled to wake up upon hearing this. Looking at Lu Zhe with a calm expression, the two of them instantly seemed to have found their backbone and involuntarily acted according to Lu Zhe's arrangement. Especially Wang Xiaoming. The scene of Lu Zhe using saliva to repel the water demon just now has completely refreshed his worldview. At this moment, Lu Zhe was simply a god in his heart. Who can defeat a water demon with just drool, except for God? Not to mention him, even Lord Lu was somewhat shocked. This is simply not a means that ordinary people should have. I'm afraid even the wind forth mentioned by my younger brother cannot achieve this. Half an hour later, the ship from Dongguan arrived, accompanied by two officers from Dongguan police station. They are all police officers from Chengqiao Island. With such a big death, the Dongguan police station naturally wouldn't treat it as knowing nothing. Lu Zhe asked Lu Yi to first hand over the amulet to Wang Xiaoming for self-defense, and then let Wang Xiaoming set off. You can go at this time and come back in the afternoon. Actually, just stay there for the next 2 days and don't have to come back. It's not safe here. Lu Yi said. Wang Xiaoming is obviously a bit tempted by this proposal. But soon, he shook his head and looked serious. If I can't solve the water ghost in 2 days, I can't hide outside for a lifetime. And I'm a police officer, I won't be a shrinking turtle. Although he was very scared in his heart, Wang Xiaoming never accepted it. And he is a person of faith. When I first took the police academy exam, besides wanting to have an iron rice bowl, the most important thing was to do something for the people. For the justice in my heart. Good kid. Upon hearing these words, even though Lu Yi had been salting fish for many years, his blood couldn't help but boil. Even Lu Zhe has a somewhat different view of Wang Xiaoming. Although Wang Xiaoming is not very clever, with this belief, he is a qualified police officer. After Wang Xiaoming left, Lu Yi went to prepare the tools. Although he is not a Taoist, he remembers some supernatural stories passed down from the older generation in his heart. He had long wanted to try out the methods of dealing with ghosts and monsters in the story, and now is the perfect time. Of course, he also asked Lu Zhe. After receiving recognition from Lu Zhe, he went to prepare. Otherwise, after being busy for a long time, these methods would be ineffective against ghosts and monsters. Isn't that just fooling around? Lord Lu has something to do, so naturally Lu Zhe is not idle. There are still many spiritual powers waiting for him to refine in Dantian. By increasing your strength, it will also be easier to deal with water ghosts. Police dormitory. When Lu Zhe returned, he found Lin Xiaoting packing up her things. Obviously, Lin Xiaoting is preparing to leave. You're back. Upon seeing Lu Zhe return, Lin Xiaoting exclaimed with joy, I was planning to go find you. Are you ready to go back? Lu Zhe sat down with his arms around Lin Xiaoting's waist. Yeah. Lin Xiaoting nodded and said, I finally had a vacation. I want to go back and see my parents. Otherwise, if I go to the hospital to work, I'm afraid I won't have time. Lu Zhe also agrees with this. Intern doctor, that's very tiring. By the way, which major did you say you studied yesterday? Obstetrics and gynecology. Isn't it a male subject? Lu Zhe remembers that in the movie, Lin Xiaoting seemed to be a male intern doctor. That's really countless bird watching. How do you know that I originally wanted to learn? Lin Xiaoting looked surprised and immediately sighed, there's nothing I can do. My parents don't even allow me to learn this, they're afraid I won't be able to get married in the future. It's really a cliché. Looking at Lin Xiaoting with an unhappy face, Lu Zhe secretly cheered for his father.in.law and mother.in.law. After all, who would want their girlfriend to have seen many birds? I even touched it. Lu Zhe, are you right? At this moment, Lin Xiaoting turned her head to look at Lu Zhe, her eyes filled with anticipation. Seems to want the support of Lu Zhe. I said, it seems like it's not the right time to say this now. Oh. What are you doing? Don't. I can't make it in time. Lin Xiaoting's pretty face suddenly turned red, and she quickly got up from Lu Zhe's lap, not letting him continue to be mischievous. In his eyes, he was filled with shock and embarrassment. Is this still human? It's a monster, right? After being fought by Lu Zhe several times, Lin Xiaoting felt like she was about to fall apart, and she was still in excruciating pain all over. Lu Zhe is so lucky that he still wants to promise to be a tired cow. My two little sisters must have waited for me at the dock. It's not good to be late. While explaining, Lin Xiaoting walked out with her backpack in hand. That urgent look seemed like there were some raging beasts in this room. Then I'll take you there. Don't. You better calm down and I'll call you when I get home. At this moment, Lin Xiaoting dared not let Lu Zhe deliver. That Italian cannon is still on hold. This is being delivered, maybe it will be sent into the small forest. Lin Xiaoting has a clear understanding of Lu Zhe's terrifying combat effectiveness. By the way, this is for you. Although I don't believe it, I hope it can bring you good luck. As she approached the door, Lin Xiaoting suddenly took out a sachet from her pocket and threw it to Lu Zhe. My dad always draws some weird talismans for me. I have one around my neck, so I'll give it to you. It happens to be a pear. After speaking, Lin Xiaoting quickly turned around and left. That panicked look seemed to be afraid that Lu Zhe would suddenly transform into a werewolf. Lu Zhe couldn't help but laugh and cry while watching. This talisman. Lu Zhe opened his sachet and was very surprised when he saw an exorcism talisman. The only reason is that the handwriting and spiritual power on this rune are exactly the same as those of Feng Laosi. But shouldn't Lin Xiaoting's father be called Lin Zheng? Can we say that Tornado is Lin Zheng's nickname? Isn't Lin Xiaoting's father a police officer? What exactly is the situation? For a moment, Lu Zhe had various speculations in his heart. Forget it, let's first refine spiritual power. Lu Zhe put away the exorcism talisman and immediately sat cross-legged on the bed, meditating and running the Zhou Tian. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Instrument sound and water ghost appearance. You are listening at novel full.audio. What's the situation? Standing here one by one without speaking, filming a mime. Lu Zhe said and walked towards the nearby coffee table, ready to have a phone conversation with Lin Xiaoting. Unexpectedly, as soon as he uttered these words, it was as if a stone had been thrown into a deep pool, and in an instant, the living room exploded. Oh, you. You're ignorant, young, and energetic, so you always love to fantasize. And you. Relying on old age to sell old age, old fool, always blaming deer for horses. Don't read or hear wrong, don't listen or say wrong. Inspector Chen was the first to explode. After the call, both Wang Xiaoming and Lu Yi were scolded repeatedly. Stimulated by the comments of a few ghosts and gods, he doesn't care about any local snakes. He is a staunch atheist. If we let go of Mr. Lu today, then his ghost and god theories will not be prevalent throughout the entire West Bay police station in the future. How will he lead the team then? He wants to tell everyone through Lu Yi that he is the true authority and the existence that everyone should respect. Not some ghosts and gods. After being scolded by him, Wang Xiaoming and Lu Yi instantly turned black. They have witnessed the existence of water ghosts with their own eyes during the day. How could Inspector Chen be so unjustly slandered? Just as Wang Xiaoming was about to get angry, Lord Lu couldn't help but mutter to himself. I have eaten more salt than you have eaten rice, and crossed more bridges than you have walked. As he spoke, Lu Yi also touched his forehead and nose to cover it up. After all, I have been smooth for so many years, and suddenly being so stubborn with my boss is a bit uncomfortable. Inexplicably guilty. Yes. You eat pneumonia and dog poop, cross a broken bridge and take the wrong path. Although I didn't expect Mr. Lu to dare to talk back, Inspector Chen, who is such a poisonous-tongued ancestor, doesn't allow others to be reckless. There's a lot more useless than me. If it works, you'll be the inspector today, and 1 cent is me. Speaking, he also glanced at a bend on Lu Ye's shoulder, which was the rank of a senior police officer. In the police industry, police officers can be promoted to senior police officers as long as they have worked for 18 years. Mr. Lu, this senior police officer, was obtained through 20 years of fishing. Inspector Chen is very disdainful of this salted fish. Without any connections, reaching the level of inspector at the age of 30, it can be imagined that Inspector Chen is also quite hardworking. It is difficult for such a person to understand Lu Ye's salted fish. It's like Lu Yi treating Changzhou Island as a retirement destination and willing to stay there for a lifetime. And Inspector Chen treated this place as a border and wished to immediately pack up his things and return to his original post. It can only be said that different paths do not conspire against each other. Chen sir, there are really ghosts. At this moment, the old dissector interjected. Just responding to him, it was Inspector Chen's glare. Shut up. Don't talk about ghosts in front of me, otherwise I'll arrest you on charges of intimidating police officers. The farce of a few people clearly cannot disturb Lu Zhe. After chatting with Lin Xiaoting, Lu Zhe put down the phone. The phone was not hung up by him, but by Lin Xiaoting across from him. Judging from that anxious look, it should be that the father.in.law has returned. Lu Zhe, which side are you on? Upon seeing that Lu Zhe had finished the phone conversation, Inspector Chen immediately asked. In his view, Lu Zhe became an inspector at a young age and would definitely not be confused enough to believe in ghosts and gods. Coincidentally, this time we can unite with Lu Zhe and repair the relationship gap that arose from the incident this morning. As soon as his words were spoken, everyone's gaze immediately focused on Lu Zhe. I stand on the side of facts. Lu Zhe also took a can of cola and said, Is there a ghost? Let's see if we can meet tonight. Yeah. Upon hearing this, Wang Xiaoming's eyes lit up and he said, The instruments of the old autopsy can locate the location of ghosts. Tonight, they will definitely. Before he could finish speaking, Wang Xiaoming was covered by Lord Lu and could only struggle. Mr. Lu is really helpless. Although the old dissector has developed instruments, he has not tried them before. Is it okay? If it doesn't work out, then we'll be mocked again. Instrument. Great. Inspector Chen sneered, then everyone will sit here tonight and wait. I want to see what ghosts you can catch. After speaking, Inspector Chen sat down directly on the sofa with great skill. Lu Yi sighed and beckoned Wang Xiaoming and the two to sit down. Time slowly passes in the days of a few people. As time approached midnight, Lu Yi and his companions became increasingly restless. Lao Zhan, why isn't your instrument still making noise? Can it work or not, you? How can a man say, no? Faced with Lu Ye's questioning, Lao Kuai immediately lost his composure. However, when speaking, he couldn't help feeling a bit guilty. After all, he hasn't tried this new invention either. Perhaps Chung Chao Island is too large, beyond the monitoring range of the old dissection instrument. Wang Xiaoming said, how about we go out for a walk? Good idea. Mr. Lu and Mr. Lao nodded in agreement at the same time. Waiting like this is not a problem. If the instruments of the old autopsy really don't work, then going out and wandering around might even lead to encountering ghosts. It's better than watching Inspector Chen's stinky face here. The next second, a few people looked at Lu Zhe. Unlike the restlessness of Mr. Lu and his companions, Lu Zhe was eating instant noodles with relish. He is really hungry. After all, I didn't have dinner. And Lu Zhe doesn't know why, he feels like his appetite is particularly good now. I've already eaten 2 packs of instant noodles, but I'm only 1/3 full. Is it because after practicing, the body needs more energy? It seems that I need to urge old Wang. If I don't get promoted or receive a salary increase, I'm afraid I'll be the first cultivator to starve to death. Lu Zhe's mind was full of thoughts, but he didn't even notice the actions of Lu Yi and the others. And just as Mr. Lu and the others were about to speak, suddenly, doodle-doodle. Waves of ethereal sounds rang out, but the source was a controller in the hands of Lao Kuai. On the screen of the controller, there is a blue light spot constantly flashing in a certain direction. Here we go. Lao Kuai's spirit lifted and he immediately stood up excitedly. While carrying the instrument on his back and rushing out, he shouted. Hurry up. Everyone keep up. Lu Yi and Wang Xiaoming rushed out without saying a word. In the living room, only the bewildered Inspector Chen and the smiling Lu Zhe remained. Chen sir, it seems that the facts are already very clear. Lu Zhe joked. Upon hearing these words, Inspector Chen suddenly woke up with a start. Haven't seen a ghost yet, what's the truth? After speaking, Inspector Chen raised his head and ran outside. He wants to see what kind of ghosts Wang Xiaoming and others can come up with. Water ghost. He doesn't believe a penny. P.S. Thank you very much, 1584. Book friend, the big monthly pass. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 12. Miss Bai, help me raise the flag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Water Ghost. On the path to the police dormitory, Bai Hong frowned and said in disbelief, You think I'm a 3-year-old girl, let's fool around like this. You see, I said you wouldn't believe it. Lu Zhe smiled and said, This kind of thing requires seeing to be believing, seeing with one's own eyes. That's why I said I need to go to the dormitory first and then tell you. Speaking, Lu Zhe carried Bai Hong's suitcase and walked towards the dormitory again. But upon hearing these words, Bai Hong was blinded. What do you mean? Don't tell me, that ghost is in the police dormitory. I truly deserve to be Officer Bai Hong. Congratulations, you guessed it right. Lu Zhe raised his eyebrows and said. Okay, I want to see what this so-called water ghost looks like. After speaking, Officer Bai Hong took the lead and overtook Lu Zhe with his bag on his back. It's not a water ghost, it's a female ghost. Lu Zhe corrected the path. It's all the same, just let me see the ghost. Lu Zhe. Soon, the two arrived at the police dormitory. Lu Zhe took out the key to open the door and then walked in with Bai Hong. As soon as she entered the door, Bai Hong inexplicably felt a cool breeze coming. The air conditioning here is very good. Bai Hong exclaimed in surprise, but everyone has left, and the air conditioning is still on in the dormitory. Isn't it too luxurious? You overthink it, the air conditioning has already broken down. Lu Zhe shook his head and said, that was not air conditioning just now, but energy. I don't believe it, it's all nonsense. Bai Hong gave Lu Zhe a white eye. Even though she came here, she still didn't believe there were ghosts in this world. After all, the education she received from a young age was to make her believe in science and not superstition. Do you want to make a bet? What bet? Bai Hong has a wonderful way. Just bet there are ghosts in the world. Lu Zhe smiled and said, the loser must unconditionally help the other party with something, and it must be done. There's no such thing as gambling. Upon hearing this, Bai Hong hesitated for a moment and said, if the conditions you have proposed are too harsh, or if I cannot achieve them at all, what should I do? Please, am I that kind of person? Lu Zhe remained speechless and joked, why is Miss Bai suddenly afraid that she won't be able to fulfill her bet? Has she already believed that there are ghosts in this world? I believe you big-headed ghost. Bai Hong glared at Lu Zhe, but felt that what Lu Zhe said made a lot of sense in her heart. Yes, that's right, there are no ghosts in the world. So why am I worried about not being able to complete the bet? Shouldn't it be Lu Zhe who should be worried about this? Thinking of this, Bai Hong suddenly relaxed. Okay, since you want to do things for me so much, then I'll fulfill you. Bai Hong pretended to be proud and coquettish and said, ghosts, take me to see it. At this moment, Bai Hong was really curious. When we arrived at the dormitory, Lu Zhe still didn't feel guilty. This psychological quality is really excellent. No, it should be due to excellent acting skills. Undoubtedly an elite from G4. Mummy, in that room. Lu Zhe pointed to the room in the corner and then walked over with Bai Hong. But for some reason, the closer she got to that room, the colder Bai Hong felt. In the end, I couldn't help but get closer to Lu Zhe. This female ghost was seriously injured, even her soul was unstable. So she couldn't control her energy inside her body. Over time, it took her to make the room so cold. Lu Zhe noticed Bai Hong's actions and explained. Then, regardless of whether Bai Hongxiang believed it or not, she grabbed the door handle and opened the door. At the moment the door opened, a gust of wind swept over, making people feel cool all over. This is simply gospel in the hot summer. Did you see it? What does the gambling agreement say? Lu Zhe stepped aside so that Bai Hong could see the female ghost clearly. Suddenly, a figure bound to a chair in various colors caught the eyes of Bai Hong. This. Bai Hong was stunned and dumbfounded. I saw the woman tied to the chair, dressed in a blue robe, disheveled, and with a fierce expression, especially the exposed skin, surprisingly showing a bluish-purple color. This is not a woman. Clearly a female ghost. Why, don't you believe it? Lu Zhe saw that Bai Hong was silent and thought she didn't believe it. He took a statue of Guangong next to her and approached the female ghost. And as he slowly approached, or rather the statue of Guangong approached, the originally weak and powerless female ghost suddenly let out a scream of terror. She really wanted to break free from the rope and step back, but at that moment, the yellow talisman on the rope emitted a golden light. The next second, the rope seemed like a burnt iron, burning the female ghost's body and emitting thick smoke. Ah ah ah. Under the excruciating pain, the female ghost lost her strength and collapsed into a chair. And when she didn't move, Huang Fu also regained calmness. All of this happened quickly, and if it weren't for the pungent smell of burning in the air, Bai Hong would have thought she had just hallucinated. Ghosts. Are there really ghosts in this world? No matter how much she believed in science, Bai Hong's reason was telling her that at this moment, she should believe the truth she had seen. Lu Zhe saw that Bai Hong had already believed it, so he set aside the statue of Guangong. Let's go out and talk. Bai Hong was so stunned that she was led out by Lu Zhe's hand. Until she sat down on the sofa in the living room and her hand was released by Lu Zhe, Bai Hong finally realized and her pretty face turned red. Although I have already shook hands with Lu Zhe, the feeling this time is very different. Perhaps because she stayed in the room for a long time, or perhaps because her faith was shattered, Bai Hong felt cold all over. And Lu Zhe's hands are so warm. Unexpectedly, there are ghosts in the world. I used to be superficial. Taking the water cup handed over by Lu Zhe, Bai Hong sighed. She is a straightforward woman. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Since she was wrong, she will admit it. Just what do you want me to do? The gambling agreement just now, Bai Hong didn't forget. However, thinking about the content of the gambling agreement, Bai Hong couldn't help feeling a little guilty. This is Night Zhe, shouldn't you propose any vulgar conditions? Well, I don't think so. Oh, it's very simple. Lu Zhe smiled and said, help me raise the flag these days. Bang, what? Go to hell, thug. As soon as Lu Zhe finished speaking, Bai Hong's hand shook and her water cup fell to the ground. The next second, Bai Hong instinctively punched Lu Zhe. Raise the flag. Dream your spring and autumn dreams. I lost it. Feeling the strong wind coming towards him, Lu Zhe had no doubt that with this punch, he would directly receive the concussion package. Immediately reached out and grabbed Bai Hong's fist. Seeing Bai Hong struggling and wanting to take action, Lu Zhe immediately explained. Please, I meant to ask you to go to the beach to raise the flag. What are you thinking? Sand. Flag raising on the beach. Upon hearing this, Bai Hong was stunned. Yeah. Lu Zhe said, there is a water ghost in the sea. If we don't solve it, it will be dangerous for tourists to go into the water, so we need to raise the flag. There are 2 warning flags that need to be rotated up every day. I'm too lazy to wake up early, so I want you to help me. Bai Hong. P.S. Thank you very much, 8764. Book friend, the big monthly pass. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Capturing the wrong ghost and examining the ghost. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since becoming a ghost, the female ghost has never suffered such losses. Feeling the pain emanating from her body, the female ghost was furious and rushed towards Lu Zhe and the others without caring. The first to bear the brunt is Lu Zhe. I don't know how to live or die. Upon seeing this, Lu Zhe sneered and felt both anger and joy in his heart. The female ghost's move hit him right in the bud. He is not afraid of female ghosts fighting, he is afraid of female ghosts turning around and running away. In that case, it will really take some effort. After all, although Lu Zhe now has a strong spiritual power, he doesn't know any spells and can't trap or hunt down female ghosts. It's too troublesome to chase with the instruments of an old autopsy. This thing is too rough. Just like just now, if it weren't for Lu Zhe noticing the ghostly aura emanating from Widow Lu's house, maybe we would have had to knock on the door one by one. Seeing the female ghost's paw about to pierce her chest, Lu Zhe quickly took action, starting from behind. Spiritual power surged in both hands, and the powerful power amplification made Lu Zhe easily grasp the female ghost's claws. Before the female ghost could react, Lu Zei's mouth opened slightly and a mouthful of saliva accurately shot into the female ghost's mouth. In an instant, the female ghost was covered in golden lightning, and her entire body trembled with the electricity. Ah ah ah. The cries of pain echoed through the entire courtyard. This is the saliva of the 10 spirits that even the yin and yang corpses cannot bear. Just this little female ghost, just one bite is enough to make her seriously injured or even mentally drained. I lost it. What kind of saliva is this, still charged? Inspector Chen, who had already pulled out his gun, was stunned at this. The scene that is happening now has exceeded his cognitive scope. Chen sir, do you believe there are water ghosts now? Wang Xiaoming excitedly said, now we know we're not building recklessly, right? Xiaoming. Lu Yi, who was supporting Widow Lu on the side, reminded Wang Xiaoming upon hearing this. Excitement is possible, but don't lose your sense of propriety. Anyway, Inspector Chen is still the superior. If Inspector Chen cannot come down, then Wang Xiaoming's life will not be easy in the future. Lao Zhan, come and take a look. Okay. Lao Kuai collected the controller and then went to check the situation of Widow Lu. As for the female ghost still convulsing on the ground, she's like a dead dog, who would think she has the ability to harm people again. Moreover, there is Lu Zei watching. As long as there is any abnormality in this female ghost, Lu Zei's saliva can be called upon at any time. A's, your talisman. Lord Lu took the exorcism talisman from Widow Lu and handed it to Lu Zei. The golden light that Lu Zei just hit on Widow Lu was exactly an exorcism talisman. With the exorcism talisman in place, the female ghost cannot ascend onto the body of Widow Lu again. How is she doing? Lu Zei collected the exorcism talisman and asked. There's no big problem, just unconscious, pale face, as if very weak. Lu Yi said. It should be a ghost energy entering her body. I will dispel the ghost energy for her later, and then rest and nourish more, and she can recover. After looking at Widow Lu, Lu Zei said. Upon hearing this, Mr. Lu and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Lu sir, what about this water ghost? Wang Xiaoming pointed to the female ghost who was no longer moving on the ground. In an instant, everyone looked at Lu Zei, waiting for his instructions. Even Inspector Chen is the same. Now, he is truly impressed by Lu Zei. Even such a fierce female ghost can be managed with just a little saliva. This is unacceptable. She's not a water ghost. Lu Zei shook his head and said. What? How could it be? What about the real water ghost? Be good. How many ghosts are there? As soon as Lu Zei spoke, the courtyard burst into flames. Wang Xiaoming and his companions all had slightly pale faces and were filled with fear. A ghost is so difficult to deal with. Now Lu Zei actually said, there's more than one ghost. This makes it impossible for people to live. The real water ghost should still be in the sea. He was injured by me during the day, so he shouldn't come out tonight. Lu Zei said, but we can learn about the situation through this female ghost. She should know about the water ghost. That's right, even if she's not a water ghost, she must be a neighbor of the water ghost. We happen to use this opportunity to understand the situation of the water ghost, know ourselves and the enemy, in order to win 100 battles. Inspector Chen immediately agreed. After all, as an inspector, I have seen many grand scenes. Even if the worldview is shattered, it still quickly adjusts. Now, Inspector Chen only wants to solve the real water demon as soon as possible. One is to solve major problems for the villagers on the island. Second, I want to make a good performance, try to look good on the report, and then move back to my original position. So how do we interrogate her? Is it right here? Wang Xiaoming asked. Of course I brought it back. Inspector Chen spoke and looked at Lu Zei. Lu Zhe did not delay the time and directly said. She was severely injured and had little ability to escape. Go get a rope to tie her up, then stick the exorcism talisman on the rope, and she won't be able to run. I'll go find the rope now. Wang Xiaoming said this and rushed into Widow Lu's house. Quickly, a few people tied up the female ghost and helped Widow Lu to the police dormitory. When it comes to catching ghosts, Wang Xiaoming and his team are definitely not capable. But when it comes to interrogation, Inspector Chen stated that he is very skilled. Hong Kong Island has human rights and cannot use lynching on prisoners, but there is no right to ghosts. Inspector Chen, who came to Changzhou Island with a belly full of anger, had long wanted to vent his anger properly. How could he miss such a good opportunity now? Next, that's a torture tool to serve. What Guangdong statue, cinnabar, and even child urine have not been left behind by Inspector Chen. Of course, the child urine must be Wang Xiaoming's. He is still a child chicken here. For this reason, Wang Xiaoming even followed in, wanting to see how his urine displayed its divine power. Compared to Lu Zhe's drool, which one is more effective? Is this really okay? Listening to the screams of female ghosts coming from the bedroom, Mr. Lu turned his head to look at Lu Zhe and said with concern. After all, she is a female ghost, even if she is injured, she should not be underestimated. Don't worry, there's no problem. Lu Zhe used his spiritual power to dispel the ghost energy from Widow Lu while answering. There are many ways to dispel ghost energy, and using yellow talismans combined with spiritual power is the best effect. Unfortunately, Lu Zhe still doesn't know how to draw talismans to dispel ghost energy. However, he has strong spiritual power and is not too tired of dispelling ghost energy. By the way, how did you just notice that Widow Lu was not right? Lu Yi asked curiously. Later on, I also felt something was wrong, but I couldn't say it. She has a ghostly aura on her body, which I can tell at a glance. As for you, didn't you notice that she tiptoes when she walks? Lu Zhe explained. Upon hearing this, Lord Lu suddenly realized. It turns out that there's something wrong with her height. I just said that her eyes are all on my nose. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.